Well,
And
I
there you
have
go.
never asked somebody to do that before, but welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you all did not just hear, Maya say she wants someone inside of her, but we are back here to bring you another wild and
Janky.
crazy review
Super janky.
of P-Valley Season 2. Now, this is episode 7, and Amaya, what's the name of this episode? You better get used to it. I'm going to do this every
Oh
time.
shit! I had
Jackson.
it too. There we
I
go.
got it.
Thank
Jackson.
you. There we go.
Thank you,
There we
Jamal.
go.
Thank you, Jamal.
I was.
This episode 7, Jackson is flipped, turned upside down like Little Murder's pussy. So we are here to get into everything on this episode.
You know what? I'm not gonna do it.
So first, to start off with Amaya Desire. How are you doing this evening?
Ooh, child. I mean, they really doing something to us these last few episodes. They really are. They pulling at all the emotional strings. They're making you angry. They're making you sad. They just doing a lot. But I'm here.
Now, Little Murder versus Bottom. I am so confused on what's going on with this show. But let's get into my other amazing co-host, Jamal. How you doing this episode? I know this one. I know it got real serious and took you out a little bit.
It's a little bit, man. Listen, I clutched my motherfucking pearls. These imaginary pearls that sit right here. Like, I just let's get it going.
Hey, look here. We know that scene was crazy, but it fits so well with this show. One, its representation is great. I love that they did something that we never get on shows. I've been reviewing Manager Power for years. I have never had anyone on Power say, "Are you sure that you're safe?" That was the oh my god. That was
yeah. I don't even
learn to do that because that is something you should do.
You should.
Even in the heat of the moment, that is a conversation that should be had.
Absolutely.
But that's not so much of a racy or touchy subject in a heterosexual community, as though it should be. Hold on, I said it should be, but that's not the norm. So that's why you'll never hear it.
Yes.
But in the homosexual community, of course, that's the question you want.
I mean, as our other amazing co-host who's off screen, and she just loves to light up our chat. We love a clean, safe pussy. So let's get into the episode. And the first,
I do not subscribe to that word. I just want to put it out there. I do not subscribe to.
Honestly, I'm gonna have a moment because I really don't know what that means. So I'm just.
We're not going to discuss it tonight. We're not.
Yes, we are. You don't know what
pussy. Have you ever seen Noah's Ark, the show about it was like the black queer as folk that was actually better than queer as folk, but got cheated out of the actual series.
Really?
Like Queer as Folk.
I did not. Yeah. I saw it, but I never actually saw it.
So they had a marathon last month. It was actually great. I have season 1 on DVD. And there was a movie called Jumping the Broom. I actually love, seriously, you ask any black, I'm sorry to go off because they are married.
No. We here now.
It don't matter. My sister answered it. Okay.
I don't want to.
Lucas, move on. Okay.
And we're not going to talk about that. But I'm just going to say they referenced something similar to that in one of the episodes. I think in episode 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly which episode it is. But yeah, I mean, it's a great show.
Here's the thing. It's a great word.
To who?
It's a great word.
Moving on, Lucas.
It's a great word. It's a great word. It's a great word. I'm not saying you should use it in the correct term or the term that people think it's meant to be used in. But boy, is it a great word. It's a
all
great
right.
word.
Come on, Lou. Let's go. I'm gonna run out of liquor.
Shayna, chill.
So let's start the episode off, and the first piece of the episode, which is a great, powerful flashback. We get a grandmother singing through the ages of the Pink, and we get to see the different stages of the Pink, everything that the Pink went through, to help give you the history of this to the family, so you fully understand why Clifford is fighting so hard for this not to be sold. So since you can't hold it together, I'm going to clearly go to you first, Jamal. What did you think about the beginning of this episode?
I'm only losing it because I'm looking at Shayla chat and it's still taking me out, and I hate it. I loved it though. I love Loretta Devine first and foremost. I
Mm.
always have.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved Loretta Devine. Loretta Devine definitely deserves her flowers in Hollywood. But I thought it was beautiful how they displayed the history of the pink,
Mm-hmm.
because we got a chance to get a glimpse of everything that grandmother spoke of in season one when she was talking and
Mm-hmm.
telling Lil Murder about the history of the paint and just how it used to be back in the day. My only gripe is his mother calling him Uncle Clifford. Like, what is up? Please don't tell me that man's first name is Uncle, because I'm gonna have so many
I think
issues.
that's something
I'm gonna
we got to
have
pay attention to.
so many issues with his mother calling him Uncle Clifford at
Yes.
3 years old. But
Yes.
other than that, I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I'm glad we got a chance to see how
Mm-hmm.
beautiful Uncle Clifford's mother was before her,
Yes.
untimely demise. But I thought it was beautiful, and I loved the Hitler, even though she's older. People don't. I don't know who doesn't know this, but Loretta Devine is in her 70s. People, she's in her
Oh yeah.
70s, and she looks that great, and she still sounds pretty decent. So I was happy to see that part.
What about you, man? What did you think about the beginning of this episode?
As much as I loved it, it also was like, once they start doing flashbacks, it can't be good. I was like in between feeling joyous and like, oh no, they finna take grandma from me, because
Yes.
that's immediately what I thought, because we knew that the
Mm-hmm.
last episode she was sick, and so I love them taking us back, giving us those moments that she had when Pink was at its finest, and
Mm-hmm.
also seeing, like you said, Lou, the transitions, because you can see like some money exchanging happening in there and look like a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
drug dealing and whatnot. But I definitely, especially when you see, I guess Uncle Clifford's mother telling her that it's okay,
Yeah.
like she can
Mm-hmm.
come home, and she's like, no, not yet. It just, yeah, I was just like, y'all can't be doing this to me. Y'all can't be doing this to me. But I loved it. I loved it. And I think that again, here P Valley does an excellent job with flashbacks, seamlessly doing it in a way where you don't feel like they're yanking you back and forth, or
Mm-hmm.
that they're giving you too much or too little. It's really like it's just done really well.
Before we continue, can I say this? It's a little storm situation going on, and the connection already been a little. So if y'all see me black out and then come back, just know I'm still here. I'm just giving you full warning now, okay? Just letting you know.
Oh Lord.
Hey, look. It's horrible in our area. I went through a power outage yesterday for 8 hours. So I understand. But
Yeah, I heard it was bad yesterday.
exact next up we get, I think, a conversation that we keep on revisiting, and that is between Haley and Clifford and the importance of the pink to him. And here, her letting him know the amount of money she passed on in selling the pig here. What did you just think about this? Not necessarily think about what happens with Haley later on in the episode, but here again, them revisiting this same conversation. This is like the fourth or fifth time they've had it. Do you think at this point it's run its course with them two of repeating this over and over again?
I'm sorry. I think that this is one of those times where they're having it and it's not emotionally fueled, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not in an angry space. It's not coming from like I'm ready to slap a bitch. It's more like, listen, I'm just tired of fighting with you. I want to let you know how important this is to me, and how it will really hurt me if you do this. However, on the flip side, I see that talking about getting what it's worth and whatnot. What does that look like? So I think that
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it's more of a like a he's coming to the terms that it might really happen, but he's still gonna make sure to put she's still going to make sure to put forth every effort to save the pink. Even when talking to Autumn, it's very clear that Uncle Clifford is like, listen, this holds history. It's not just a building. It's not just, you know, um, a place for people to come. This is history. This is land. This is my ancestors' blood, sweat, and tears. So even though the conversation has been redundant, I think this is the first time that we've seen it without all of the animosity, all of the hate and anger behind it. Because sometimes your conversations get lost when you're doing it angry and you're coming in a space of like, I will beat your ass. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole different conversation to have when you're
Not that
having
right,
it.
but yeah.
Shut up. When you're but I do think that as they go on in the conversation, Haley says, listen, they offered me 5 mil, and Uncle Clifford is like, well, you ain't taking it. And she's like, bitch, what? And so again, kind of coming to terms, but also still putting up the fight. I think both things can be true at the same time. Uncle Clifford obviously knows that the money would be amazing, but on the flip side of that, she's also aware that the pink holds something dear to her. It's not just a place. So yes, redundant, but a different way that we're seeing the conversation being had this time around.
What about you, Jamal? What are your thoughts on this scene?
I agree as well. Like, to touch on what you said about the conversations happening without, being in the heat of the moment, because you do lose the purpose, you do lose your point when you're caught up in emotions. But this was their first time having a real heart to heart. Like, listen, I'm just trying to hear you out, and I want you to hear me out, and I want you to understand the importance of why this place is so meaningful to me. It's not just a place where girls come here, pussy pop, twerk, all that. It's richness in this. It is history. It is a legacy. It is life. It's love. It's community. It's family. All of those things matter to Uncle Clifford, as we've seen throughout the course of the show. And I, while all of that is being explained to Autumn, I understand Autumn's flip on it, because she's, as Amaya said, she says how Promised Land offered her 5 mil and she turned it down. She was like, because I know it's worth 10. I know I can get 10. And this is not just to save, this is not just for you, but this is also for everything that I gave up. You know what I'm saying? I put the money up to save the pink in the first place, but you don't know what came with getting all that money. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know what was lost. You don't know, even though it was a gain for you, it was a reminder of a loss for me. So I like that spin on it, but it was about time that they stopped being at odds and actually had a real conversation, because I don't think anybody's ever discussed what the real plans would be if the casino was open while the pink was still open, and how the two was going to be successful when it's like a shot compared to this big casino that they're about to bring in. You know what I'm saying? We trying to get above where we're at. And I think it was a good conversation for the two of them to have. And it just showed a little bit more to the purpose. It wasn't so much as just about the money. It was what the plans for the money were.
Yeah, and I also think that this is the first time that in the whole entire season, and this is episode 7, that we actually really get to see that vulnerable kind of regretful, sad, hurt side of Haley. You know what I mean? Because she's not just talking about the money; she's talking about like how what she did to get here, how the money came about, and obviously that plays a part in, again, I still go back to what I said a few reviews ago. She's in survival mode. I don't think that she's ever come out of survival mode. She only knows how to just make sure that she's okay. And I think that sometimes we fault people because it's a sign of, it's the most extreme version of selfishness that you can have, but we also don't know what it's like to have everything taken away from you, to be held hostage, to be, all these things that she's experienced lead her to having this thing where like, I have to be okay, and I think that if we just see it in a different view, you'll understand, like, while it may not be right or wrong necessarily, it's not a great way of doing things. To her, it just makes sense because survival is what she's about.
That's all she knows.
So you think So how much of it still plays a part? Because again, this is also the first time we really heard her bring up
Her
like
daughter.
her daughter.
Mhm.
Like we know the situation, we know what happened, but here for her to revert right back to that kind of makes you wonder what would she have done with the money if she didn't have to save the pink?
I mean, I'm just see the thing is I'm kind of blurry on what happened with her daughter, but I mean, obviously her daughter has passed. I
Hmm.
think that I don't think that she, even though she is upset in a way that she did save the pink, she's also aware that she probably wouldn't have anything else to put the money towards either, right? She needed something to save, whether that's a place or a person. She wanted to save something, and that was her way of doing it. She saved the pink. Now, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have ulterior motives, which of course we know, but it just, I definitely for sure think that she just felt like she had to do something. Like she wasn't being selfish in the moment, but you know, it's weird.
I think what she would have used the money had she not saved the pink was to establish something of her own, because
Mm.
everything in her past she's been reliant on someone else
Or
for,
some, yeah, that's true.
and so
Mm.
that all of that capital, and she would use that to start to have her actual come up, but because the place that helped save her was in jeopardy, she
In
saved
need of
it.
saving. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
So we're going to stay on Haley Giovanni, as I'm calling her this episode.
Oh my
We're going to
gosh.
stay on her and
I can't
her
stand
arc in this episode, as the next time we're introduced to her is her running into Keyshawn at the, I want to say, the Piggly Wiggly. What did they call this place? Just a
it.
grocery
I don't think
store.
that's a dollar store. I don't think that was a dollar
It
store.
damn sure ain't no dollar, but no groceries. Nah, I
Yeah.
Oh
take
no,
that
it's
back.
dollars.
I take that back. I take that back.
Yeah.
But they ain't got the freezer section like that place had the freezer section.
Yeah, I'm
Take that
not.
back.
Okay.
I mean, she was intentional about running into Keyshawn. She was
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
for her. Interesting.
So what did you
So,
think, especially with her bringing up about her using the gun that she gave her
You
and
know,
her not using that gun?
I think
And
it's something telling about that gun.
is that the gun? Well, before we even focus on the gun, what did you think about again this intentional meetup on Haley's part with Keyshawn, especially especially with knowing part of her story before their big scene later on of what Haley had to go through, that she intentionally wanted to run into Keyshawn here.
Part of me thinks it was intentional to run into Keyshawn with the hopes of trying to get her back at the pink. But once she got her eyes on Keyshawn and saw the state that Keyshawn was in, it then flipped it to something else about trying to save her from where she's at now.
Mm,
I think that could have been the situation, but that's a good question to wonder. Like, why was she seeking out Keyshawn?
hmm
You know, like, you don't know what's going on with her life because she hasn't been at the pink. Nobody that's at the
mm,
pink talks to Keyshawn. She's not on tour. They're not broadcasting anything.
right.
So, what does she know of Keyshawn to be so piqued to, her interest piqued to actually seek her out?
She knows that Rome is dead, which
How
was
how does she know though?
everybody knew, right? Everybody. It was word travel. People were talking about how Rome was
yeah,
dead.
they were talking about how
So
Rome was dead.
yeah. So at this point,
That's
Autumn
bad. I ain't like that man that much. I tuned all of his information out.
So Autumn knows, right? And now that essentially Keyshawn is kind of a sitting duck, trying to figure out how, or is she going back on tour with Lil Murder? Like, how is her new situation gonna go? I think that is why. As when you were saying it, I was thinking of a reason why she would reach out to Keyshawn. That would be the reason, because now you're sitting at home, right? You're gonna go back to doing the stripping virtually or what have you. Um, and so I thought that was interesting. I do think that again, we've hated Haley for the first 6 episodes, right? So it's very hard to see her in this space and of her being compassionate and empathetic and like wanting to help Keyshawn. I do believe that there was an ulterior motive. However, I'm glad to see that it did not outweigh what she saw in Keyshawn knowing that she needed help or offering herself in a way that's saying like, hey, I'm here for you, like, that kind of situation.
Now, do you think it could have, and I'll ask both of you this, it could have played any parts of, there have been other times where Keyshawn was out in public. Maybe someone saw her. Maybe they had questions about her then. Because you kept on saying, like, I don't think this is the first time her and Derek ever went out. We saw her try to escape. Who else could have possibly seen her to just ask somebody else, like, hey, what's going on with her? She's not doing the live videos at this point in time because of what happened.
Right.
So if you're not working with Rome around, is it just as simple as saying, this is my chance to get you back at the pink? Or is it actually, I need to make sure you're okay?
I mean, I'm just gonna say it's both, but to me, I'm just like, when I look at Keyshawn's face, right? I'm like, damn, this shit getting worse before it gets better. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't know it, and so I do think it's both when it comes to Autumn. Like, I think that for sure. Again, they know that Rome is gone, and Rome was Keyshawn's manager. They knew that she was essentially on tour with Lil Murder. And so now that she's not, it's like, okay, so let me check in. And depending on my response or what I see or what I get, then I can decide which avenue I'm going to take. Because we all know that Haley is very strategic. She's playing chess. She's been playing chess since she got here for the most part. So I think that it was just both. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good time to ask Keyshawn, could she come back to the pink, or does she want to come back to the pink? It was a time to say, like, hey, it's now or never, because this shit ain't getting no better.
So what did you all think about the final scene with them two and the speech that Haley gives her?
I thought it was a much needed speech, talk, story time, if you will, that Haley gave her, because it's that moment where, for the most part, Haley has been a mystery to everybody. Nobody really knows her backstory. Nobody knows anything about her. The only people who know about Montavious is Mercedes, Uncle Clifford, Diamond, and Big L. None of the girls know. So it's like, this was her time that she finally shared a piece of herself to open up, to relate to her, to let her know, you know what I'm saying? Out of everything that happened to me, this is the end result. And, by them both being mothers, it was easier to portray that I'm tired and I'm losing my words. It was easier for her to get that point across, to let her know, like, if you don't live for anything, live for your children, because if you don't, you will lose them. Just like I lost mine.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that's actually trying to settle into her, even though Keyshawn is acting dumb as a doorknob. With the Haley, what is you saying? Like, bitch, you ain't been getting the context clues. Like, who else is Haley that you know, ho? But I that just really irritated me. But I'm trying to keep my composure, because as I'm thinking about it, I'm laughing at you calling her Haley Giovanni, because that was very poetic as she was giving that little story. I was like, oh, this shit, break it down. I picked the metaphors like
I was waiting. I was waiting for her to say, and still.
Shut up! That is for offense. We're not going to do this.
Goodbye, sir.
We're not going to do this. But I honestly, I'm going to be truthful too. I thought the bag had another gun in it, and I was about to be like, where the fuck is she getting all these guns? But I did too. Okay, so I wasn't alone. Bet. So,
like, She used the one gun. What you gonna give her two? What you gonna?
I mean, listen, just in case.
You don't know she ain't got it. I mean, she ain't know she still got it. She might have thought she might have lost it.
Right? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She ain't see the fight go down. She don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, well,
I thought it was another gun.
Let me give you another gun. We gonna get this together.
I mean, some people do. I don't know. I don't like guns, so I wouldn't say. But to see that it was a burner phone, let her know, like, listen, let me be your ticket out. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as her saying, look up Haley, Lakeisha Savage or Haley Savage.
No, Haley Campton or something or the other.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Now, I don't know if she's saying her to do a Google search or to look it up in the phone.
I think look it up in the phone, maybe.
I think it was look it up in the phone.
Yeah.
I think that was an emergency.
But that last part, call me when you ready to learn how to swim. I said, bitch, mic drop. Like, she did that. I was,
I definitely I definitely agree with Jamal. I think that, because she could have, let's be real, because we know Haley, right? She could have just seen her at the supermarket and been like, well, I tried to talk to you then, you wasn't ready, right? But she put herself essentially in harm's way because you don't know what Derek is capable of. You showing up at this house, and you don't know what kind of triggers that could set off for her either. It's a risk. And so I think that the storytelling in P-Valley is so well done. Like, no matter who they get to do it, for the most part, we've had Big Teak, we've had Uncle Clifford, and now Haley, and they have just done a really good job. I think Haley showcasing, sharing that story and letting her know. What is it?
I hate him for that.
I am so done. I do think that Haley sharing that story. First of all, listen, like, not everybody can share those stories or can share those memories, unfortunate memories that they have experienced, right? A lot of people are ashamed, and some people are still holding anger, towards it. But for her to share that story, she's saying, like, hey, I trust you. Not even I trust you, but like, I really want to share with you that I'm not talking out the side of my neck. Like, I'm just not saying shit to say it. Like, I'm really telling you that, like, in my opinion, when she was saying her story, I felt like she was saying, like, I couldn't save my kids. I couldn't save my daughter. And considering that she doesn't know that Derek has been beating on these kids, right? Yeah. And nor in the last episode we talked about how was Keyshawn going to get out, and here randomly we have Haley coming in to giving a lifeline. So everything is literally kind of coming full circle. In order for people in abusive situations to really get it, sometimes they have to hear from somebody who's succeeded in getting out, right? I don't know what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, so I cannot say what I would do. I feel like I would probably end up in jail, right? Because it only takes one time for you to even raise your hand and flinch at me wrong before I'm gonna knock you out. But I think that we don't understand, like, Keyshawn is in a space of, even though she's smart, she's very much scared. Like, she's she's mortified. And now she is going to be able to, if she tries, to leave again and the car battery's gone, now she can call Autumn, and say, hey, like, I'm ready. Come get me now. And so I really love the dynamic that, Black women supporting and helping other Black women, being vulnerable in a space to say, like, hey, like, I need help with this, and also, like, hey, I'm here offering my help, despite that, what kind of danger it might put me in. Because let's be clear, like, you don't know abusers' mental state, and Derek has been hitting on his kids. So Autumn is she's fair game. She's fair game.
Yeah, because at that point, there's no difference. If you're willing to beat the ones you love,
exactly,
I'm more than willing to hurt you.
Exactly.
Again, it's Autumn told her, like, a rose is still a rose. baby girl, you're still. Now
Bye, yo.
let's get on to the next key storyline here, and I'm going to go to the one that has it's going to have the hottest scene that everyone's going to want to talk to. But to me, it's not the most important. It's not the last story we need to talk about, and that is Uncle Clifford and Little Murder. And it starts off with us seeing Little Murder reliving his trauma of Teek's death and what happened with Teek. At the same time, him looking after grandmother for Clifford.
Mm-hmm.
And we see the correlation of dealing with grief and attempting to distract yourself by helping someone else out.
Mm-hmm.
What did you two think about this entire episode as it pertained to Little Murder and Uncle Clifford? Amaya.
I mean, again, I love the way that they showcase Black men, like the masculinity, right? But also the compassion, which we would consider like a feminine trait, right? Or nurturing more so, that's more feminine. Like I really, I've been in a space of grief, and in order to keep myself afloat, I was like, all right, let me go and help somebody else. Like, let me get out the house. Let me go. What you need? Like, like, okay. So just seeing that he could be in pain, right? Knowing how important grandmother is to Uncle Clifford. And this is, it's so funny because this is the epitome of being in a Black person's house, right? You ain't just gonna sit around here and sleep all goddamn day. You finna do something, okay? You finna clean, you finna do something, okay?
You ain't expected to cook smothered pork chop, greens, candied yams, and peach cobbler.
Cook it all. You hear me? Cook it all. Clean, cook. I don't care what. Like, and so I really just love how this is not just a woman thing, because for a long time, and still very much so, Black women are looked at as, oh, you cook, you clean, you do all this stuff, while the men don't usually have those type of skills. So to see him, he cooked a meal. Okay, he cooked a meal. He took her temperature. Like, he knew what he was doing. And so I really love that they show his nurturing side, because that is a very necessary trait to have for somebody who wants to be a father, right? But not even just for somebody who wants to be a parental figure, but for somebody in general. Because in order to treat the people that you love with care, you have to be nurturing. You have to have compassion. You also have to have grace, right? Because he could have easily been so filled with his own anger and pain that he wouldn't have been able to help grandmother. So I really just enjoyed the masculinity, but just the nurturing of it all, because it shows you that, of course, when we're grieving, the world does not stop, right? Like, he didn't come into this space knowing grandmother was sick. He thought that he was going to be able to just be here because, he needed a place, but you also have to be here. And now you see something else is going on and you're like, okay, let me do what needs to be done. So I just really, again, I really love, I think that, and Jamal has said this before, we really hope that the Black men who do watch the show understand the dynamic that they are trying to show us, right? It's not like people are so focused on the homosexuality that they're missing the people involved, right? We're just talking about the people involved. I think that seeing them go through, grandmother leaving the house, and having that scare at the river. And it's so crazy because for me, my spirituality is connected strongly to water. And so seeing grandmother go to water and like, she's like, I'm ready. And well, if you can't take me to the water, at least bring the water to me, right? Like, these are clear signs of like spirituality, of transition, and being in a space of peace before you actually leave the physical realm. So I thought that was, they've just done a really good job at just really the whole Black culture, especially the southern culture of it all, right? And I really just enjoyed that. Of course, we have them going back, and now grandmother is really sick. Her fingers have just begun to turn blue. They called the ambulance. You could tell Uncle Clifford wants to break down. does the shower, comes out, and low homicide is being the tallest Cisco in the world, but I love that again, in grief, in the midst of sadness and sorrow, somehow Black people always find a way to like just lighten the mood, even if it's briefly, even if it's for a moment, to find some sort of joy. And without saying I got you, it says I got you.
Got you.
Right. And so of course, we have that playful moment, and then we have the sex scene. And I think that one, it's different obviously because Lil Murder we haven't seen him be a bottom.
You motherfucker right about that.
And and then of course, I've never seen a face-to-face situation with two men before, right? But I'm also not in like I don't know where I would see that, but I'm just saying like I thought that it was a beautiful way to showcase like intimacy, right? Because for men and women, we feel like that's very like normal. But that is an intimate position no matter what like what kind of relationship you're in, heterosexual, homosexual, whatever. I just enjoyed that in the midst of it all, they were able to find each other. And as somebody who's been through grief that really like sinks you, I know people don't really, I don't think people think about this. There's a different kind of safe space you feel with somebody that loves you romantically versus somebody that loves you platonically. Okay, that is a whole different kind of like compassion and feeling like they like you, like I got you, but it's a different kind of I got you. And so I think that they showcase a different level that we have really yet to see when it comes to grief inside of those kind of relationships. But I think that we have to also remember that grief is just different for everybody. And you never know how it's going to hit you. But I really love that. And then I almost had a moment because in my grief, I was like, damn, like I could have used that, like I was comforted by family and friends, and I'm grateful, but there's a different kind of lonely that you feel in grief. And when you have like somebody that's romantically loving you, there's a different kind of safety that you feel.
What about you, Jamal? What did you think about Uncle Clifford and Little Murder, Little Homicide?
Not homicide. I'm gonna hurt you. Because I caught it. I heard it.
He ain't shit. He ain't shit.
He ain't shit on a Sunday morning. It's okay. It's all good. It's just what it is. So the whole collective of the scenes with Lil Murder at Uncle Clifford's house interacting with, and y'all gonna get my grandmother name right. It's not grandmother, it's grandmother. Okay, there's a UVVA. I need y'all to know it and respect it. All right. But no, for real though. I was almost triggered in the scenes with grandmother only because y'all both know I lost my grandmother earlier this year in January. So, and I lost my aunt last year to COVID. So both, it was just like, it's just like, just hit me. But I stayed strong. No tears this year. I mean, this week.
I'm about to say, too late for this year, but yep, that's cool. We there.
So as Amaya was saying, Lil Murder could have went to a very dark place, and you see him still dealing with the remnants of the memories left over. And damn, I just thought about it just now too. Shit. I to see someone die in front of you, it's something that you'll never forget.
Never.
You know what I'm saying? And as much as you try to put those happy memories of you and that person together, it's always that last breath in your back of your mind. I actually saw my nephew take his last breath years ago, and so that just came to my mind as I was thinking that. So he's dealing with all of that, and like Maya said, he could have reverted back to a dark place, but instead, what does he do? He takes that and he uses it for his betterment as being comforting and nurturing, and that isn't something that you always see in the role of the black man without them trying to get something out of it or already have gotten something and like, all right, well, since you did this for me, let me do this for you. But to see him be intentional with his acts of service to not just grandmother, but also with his communication to Uncle Clifford, because we never see them actually have a conversation about wanting to get to know more about each other,
right?
As far as how they view each other internally, because as Amaya was saying about them getting closer and how after everything that went, I don't want to talk about how much all that went in as far as where they got to, but I am going to touch on just a little bit because I just thought about it. The part where we see grandmother run to the river, you know, it was kind of meaningful to me, and it kind of made me think too, because as in the beginning of the episode, we see the flashback and we see grandmother in the present day when her daughter Beulah, can't get no country than that, comes to her and say, "Come home with me, mama," and she's like, "I'm not ready yet." And then for her to later see grandmother run into the water, you know, it's almost like a Catholic. It's almost like, you know, getting their last rites. You know, the priest coming to you, you know, giving you all of that. And that's the first thing I thought about when she said, if I can't go to the water, let the water come to me. That's what I thought about, is like the cleansing before you are to ascend into heaven, you know. We saw Uncle Cliff. I honestly thought Uncle Clifford was going to break down once the ambulance drove away, and you can tell. I don't know. You know, I'm crossing my fingers. Katori, don't kill grandmother, but in a sense, when you see Uncle Clifford saying goodbye, it's almost like he knows grandmother's not coming back home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the vulnerability for them to show not only Uncle Clifford but with Lil Murda was beautiful, because we got a chance to see them take care of each other. Now, the sex scene.
You're so dramatic.
So I'm not gonna lie, I actually did kind of see it going there, because even though we couldn't see, it was kind of like Uncle Clifford was doing something with them fingers, and I don't know but them hands was going, but they was doing something to Lamarcus. He wasn't Lil Murda at that point, he was Lamarcus, and Lamarcus was like, you know, you saw that, but
I ain't do it. I ain't started.
The meaningfulness behind it all, Amaya, as you said, was actually them being face to face, because of course in the DL lifestyle that is portrayed and what we've already seen between the sex scenes between Lil Murda and Uncle Clifford and with Big T, of course he hitting in front of that, he's not seeing them, but to actually see somebody look them in their eyes and actually as they get into it, it's like that's more intimate, and you're to literally give yourself to someone else. You know, that's a pretty powerful situation.
I bet.
And that's why we're just want to move on after this. But I will say this though, in the midst of after everything, it's a moment where they both are vulnerable, and they both have their own traumas that they're dealing with, because Uncle Clifford is coming to the realization that he's losing his grandmother, and Lil Murda is having to deal with the loss of losing Big T. And neither one of them are pressuring each other to open up to speak on it. It's like like Uncle Clifford says, when you're ready.
When you're ready, yeah.
You know. But I also want to say I love the fact that Uncle Murder. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Low homicide.
Low murder. When Uncle Clifford first came out that shower and he was in that get up and trying to emulate what he thinks his Uncle Clifford's culture is. I thought that was so damn cute, but strikingly disturbing at the same time. Because why you got on thongs on type of those?
I mean, because
Hey, look here. I just wanted to see him do a death drop. I was waiting to see it happen.
It's
Little
called
murder,
a
death
dip.
drop.
It's called a dip. You straight people are going to stop calling that shit a death drop. It's called a dip.
I ain't said nothing. I ain't said nothing.
But
I will say real quick, just 3 things that stood out. So 1, Lil Murder correcting the EMT. It's ma'am, not sir. Second of all, you know, the comment that Lil Murder made, which is, you know, you always been like this. That conversation was very important because it's a great conversation to have. Even as somebody who's not in the lifestyle, I think you wanting to have certain conversations, and vice versa, you wanted to have conversation that you're unfamiliar with and in territory you're not sure of. You don't want to be offensive, but you do want to get to know more, especially if it's somebody that you love, whether it's platonically or romantically. You're like, I'm just asking, right? Like, hey, I'm not here to stir no shit. I'm genuinely asking a question because I'm not sure. I don't know. And then also, you know, the moment that Jamal brought up, which was, you know, when you're ready. Those 3 things are very big and they matter because they're seeing each other in more intimate spaces and more intimate lighting. And I feel like sometimes we forget that intimacy is not just sex, and sometimes not sex at all. It's really just like me being heart to heart with you, me being with eye contact with you, me saying these things and asking these questions to know who you are better, and understanding how I can be better to you or for you, whichever, in order to progress the relationship or the friendship. So my 3 things, because, you know, I know the people in the comments be trying to come for us. Not today.
But that's what I was gonna bring up is the little murder Uncle Clifford conversation when he said, "Have you always been like this?" And Uncle Clifford asked him, "Well, who are you?" And he said,
I'm who
"I'm
the world
something the
won't let
world
me be."
won't let me be." And that whole conversation, or even Uncle Clifford flipping it on him and saying, "You asked me that question. You asked me it like it was a simple question, not understanding how loaded it is, how much I have to go through to be me." And he said, "I've always loved me, but just the ramifications that's coming with that." He said, "You know, I'm always going to shine bright, and I understood why you walked away because I can't burn you
handle
sometimes
being in the
because
sun."
Yeah, like that's an extremely true statement for so many people. And it's not just people in a lifestyle. There are people who are not in a lifestyle who go through those same struggles in a
Absolutely.
relationship, whether it be the gender roles being different, whether it be the monetary value being different the norm than they're accustomed to, and you having to learn how to deal with that for the person you love. So I thought that was a great thing. You know, I love everything with them in this episode, down to their intimate conversation, even as Jamal said it, and Amaya said it, just the face-to-face interaction with one another, because it does open up a different level of vulnerability when you're not just hitting it from the back. But we've seen that and accustomed to men and women in film when it's not intimate when you're in a certain position, but when you flip to the other position, it's extremely intimate. And I think it was highly important to show that here with 2 men, to let people who aren't in lifestyle, who would not know any better, that that type of interaction is the same no matter who you are. Yes, yes, Jamal, because you with your yes,
No,
Jamal.
I'm just shaking because I'm thinking, teacher, I have one thing to say.
Yes, yes.
You could still be intimate with that position because you're being submissive and just letting yourself be.
I wouldn't know. I would not know.
You ain't never
I don't do that position. I don't do that position. So
We're not going to get into the
Moving
conversation.
on.
Okay,
Let's
you
go.
asked, damn it.
Let's
You
go.
asked. I
Let's
was
go.
perfectly fine not bringing that out.
Move
Okay?
it. Move it along, sir. Move it along.
I like face-to-face interaction. I need you to think you are the most important person to me on God's green earth every time we do.
You like that BPW.
It sounds like grandpa sex to me.
You ain't never had no grandpas like me before. Now let's get it. Now let's get into the final part of the episode, and that is, and I'm not gonna say her name right, Jamal. I'm letting you know now. I ain't gonna say it
Terica.
Right. Between
Thank
Mercedes
you.
and Tiara. I've been calling her Tierica this whole time.
Erica, it's real. Just take the damn eye out, sir. Terica. There we go.
Terica and Mercedes here as we're dealing with Terica being pregnant, and we get the conversations. I am never gonna spell that right, Shima. I don't care. I literally spelt it T-R Erica. A at the end.
That's it.
Wow. Oh shit. I can spell. But let's get to what we see in this episode of the decision that needs to be made. And we go from Mercedes attempting to push her ideas to understanding maybe that's not the best route to go. What did you think about the beginning part of it when they talk about her being pregnant and what to do about it? What you think about Mercedes taking her to the abortion clinic? And what did you think about the way she allowed Terica to make the decision, or Terica to make the decision on her own? Jamal,
I actually their dynamic reminded me so much of the Black family household. To be honest with you, it was that I could show you better, I can tell you type of situation. In a sense, it was jarring to watch in certain aspects of it, because as we see the as we see the dialogue between them, and see as Mercedes is trying to like influence her to make a decision she finds befitting for her, she can't help but be flooded with the flashbacks of when she was her age, dealing with her mother and all the anguish she encountered doing so, to the point where, you know, talking about sex and being in the abuse that she endured and things of that nature. I'm not going to touch too much on it because I'm not a woman, so I can never know how that feeling is. But what I will say is, what I loved about the arc that we got to between the two of them was that moment where it's like Mercedes can't keep fighting this fight that she was losing, because Terica was going to do what Terica was going to do. It's just like, you know what? I'm done. All I can do, it was beautiful because she was like, I wanted to be the mother to have you make your own choice instead of me making it for you. And I think that was her aha moment, because it's almost like maybe if I bend, she will break with the decision to keep it. And as we see, you know, as they're getting ready to leave, she was like, you know, Terica comes to her, so what do you want me to do? What do you think I should do? She said, nah, that's your decision. You know what I'm saying? All I'm doing is just trying to be here and be your mother, because that's all you wanted from me. That's all I wanted to be. But neither, you know, no way the role wasn't able to be done back then, but today is a new day and let's try to go forward with it. So the fact that she gave the keys to Terica and said, it's your choice, I'm with you regardless what you decide. And then we see her actually turn off and go to Jackson to go to the abortion clinic to get the abortion done. That, to me, we all saw the it's past my bedtime. We also the validation and the victory that Mercedes felt in her heart of hearts when she saw her take that turn, because it's just like, all I want is for you to have more and be better than I was at your age.
Right.
And eventually that's what happened. So I loved it. I'm glad it happened.
I thought you was about to say we all saw Viola Davis, and I thought she was gonna go into a movie, and I said, "What fucking movie did Viola Davis had an abortion in?" I was so thrown. I didn't know where you were going with that. Hell? But again, I'm gonna throw this
looking at the time. It's my
back.
The time.
I'm gonna throw this real quickly back at you before we get to Amaya. What did you think about the direct conversation between them two in this episode? uh Terica really getting off her chest how she felt Mercedes abandoned her, and how she says, I didn't want anything, I just wanted you. Because we've seen her bring that up multiple times here in this season and in season one, but here it tended to hit a little harder, especially when she's behind the door and saying, I'm never going to do any of this to my kid. What did you think about that conversation between them two?
It was a conversation that was always needed to have, but just never given the opportunity. But now they're in a space where they can't run from each other. They can't hide. They have to
Mm.
have it out. And, when you're at that feat of a moment where it's like, I don't care anymore. And I'm just going to say it. Sometimes when we're in the heat of the passion, we can say the wrong thing, but sometimes we can also say the right thing. And those words needed to be said for the both of them, because the one thing that she said, I didn't need you to prove anything to me other than you wanted me. I didn't need you to have that job that the court said you needed. I didn't need you to be doing this. I need you to do that. I just wanted you there. And that was the truth that Mercedes couldn't run from. And that's what I think eventually broke her down and was just like, you know what? I'm here now. I think there's a saying that, children always speak the truth, regardless if you want to hear it or not.
From the mouth
And
of babies.
of course, they talk about younger children, but in this, Terica's 14, she's upset, she's emotional, she's just letting it rip because she feels she has that right. It was needed to be said, and I'm glad that they finally got it out.
Okay, Maya, what
Yeah.
did you think about this entire situation
I mean, well, for
between
me, this
Terica and Mercedes?
it's a very bittersweet situation as a woman, as a woman who was a girl, as a black woman who was a black girl, right? You don't really have that conversation. I never had that conversation with my mom. Never had a sex conversation. It wasn't until I finally had sex that it was more of a, now that you've had it, I just need you to not to come home pregnant. Don't come home with no babies type of conversation. So it still wasn't even a real conversation. I think for me, seeing Mercedes, her, what's the word I'm looking for? Her urgency, right? She's like, you got to make a choice. This is even before they left, right? You got to make a choice. We need to know now. And then, Terica is trying to remain a kid, and she wants, oh well, about my room, or this and the third, and then she goes into, it's not what I'm talking about, and now she wants ice cream and fried eggs or whatever the hell she wanted, because you always have these weird cravings when you're pregnant, right? And so then, of course, getting to the realization that they've been in the car too long, and that they're not going to the ice cream place, and figuring out where they're going. And she says, this is just so we can know where you are, because I'm looking at her stomach and I'm like, what the you just now taking a pregnancy test and you hella pregnant, my guy, like you hella pregnant. So seeing all these things, it was very weird for me, because I don't have children of my own, but I have god kids, and my biggest thing is that I feel like kids need to understand, to like, they're I know that as a child I never really considered just being a kid, but I'm also the oldest of three. My mom was a single parent, so there was just certain dynamics that I didn't really have the luxury per se of having. And so when I talk to my god kids, I'm always like, yo, just be a kid. They want to be so fast, but they don't understand that you're, as an adult, there are choices you're going to have to make, like have to. It's not an option. And so when we see Mercedes having this conversation back and forth with Terica, I think the one thing that she's trying to portray is like, you're here where I was. And the whole point of you being with Shell was to avoid that. And here we are. And so you have them having that moment in the car where she's like, I'm never gonna be you. You have the flashback when they get to the diner, and Pastor Woodbine is beating the shit out of Mercedes. And to me, I was so heartbroken, because I hate, one, for parents to abuse their children using their power. Two, I hate that people stood by and watched it happen. And I think that we don't realize how, and especially, I don't think it happens as often now, But I think that back then, people speaking up on those type of things were just like, it was a hands-off kind of situation. And so the idea that even Mercedes was having her moment of the woman who brought me into this world doesn't care enough about me, not jump to conclusions, right? Because you was just about to pimp her ass off to the guy across the way to get some money. So now you mad because she got condoms in her wallet and you want to beat her in the middle of the damn diner. So it's so much hate and hurt and pain and anger that has been generationally passed down. Now, while I understand that Terica is upset and she's 14, she is still a child. Her brain is not mentally all there. She doesn't understand certain things well. So while she is saying as a child, all I needed was you, as an adult, you understand that that's just not enough, right? The court systems do not work on me just giving you me, right? That's not how this works. I have to say that I can provide a roof over your head. I could provide you with food and, etc. And so I think that this right here is a great moment, a great scene for mothers and daughters to have a conversation. Because I wish my mom would have had a different kind of conversation with me about sex. And I also wish that as Black women and Black girls that we understood our worth, so we weren't in spaces or in situations with men who did not care about us, who are singing sweet nothings, and then it turns around and it's not a lot, because she's still texting this boy, right? While she's driving, he knows that she's pregnant. And I get that, for a split second as a kid, I would assume that your thoughts are, I can either have this abortion or I can have this kid. And I know that for the next 18 to 21 years, this is my life. Like, this is what it looks like. I can't imagine. I literally cannot imagine. Like, I literally think about how my mom had me and there's three of us. And the idea that my mom doesn't know what it's like to be single and 38, right? That's a whole big different life for so many people. So to me, this scene, I think, should start a conversation with mothers and daughters to have so much more than like once a month. Like, have this conversation often. Make sure they understand the consequences, because I think that one thing was that even though Mercedes didn't say it, she was thinking it. How am I supposed to take care of you and me and a baby?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to do all the things that I want to do, when I'm just now getting myself to where I want to be in order to have you? So I think that it's just things like that we need to think of. And I think the other important thing is that walking into an abortion clinic, right? Even though they weren't even there to get the abortion the first time around, they was just there to see, like,
to check
where
out.
she was, right? So to even be able to walk through and having white people with signs up that say Black Lives Matter, get the entire fuck out of my face. It's very ill. I didn't like that. And then of course, that abortion is one of the greatest sins and whatnot, have you. So so much of this is real. So much of it, it's these are real stories that people are telling through, of course, our imitates life, as Jamal had mentioned previously before. And so just seeing the dynamic, the scene in the hotel where she's like, I get it now that all you needed was just me. And at that point, to be quite honest, there comes a point where parents just need to validate their kids' feelings. Not right nor wrong. You just need to validate it, right? Because when I'm coming to you, I'm not coming to you to tell me that you're right or that you couldn't or that I'm wrong that you could. I'm just telling you to validate how I feel, because how I feel, it matters. And it's how I feel. And I think that a lot of times we don't see that because we're so busy caught up in our own shit, right? So like most parents think, well, I know better because I'm the parent, but that doesn't mean that your child doesn't feel what they feel and that it's not valid. It's 110% valid. I think that for me, the pivotal moment, obviously seeing them, when she basically tells her, like, whatever your choice is your choice. I'm gonna rock with you either way. And giving her the keys, and then seeing her turn the blinker on, and you instantly see Mercedes' face out of the car, and she's smiling because she's grateful
Mm-hmm.
For listen, she's grateful. She understands that while this is going to be something that kind of stays with her, it's also something that needs to happen because your life does change drastically, and you are a baby trying to
You're
raise a baby.
14.
And there's so much potential that you have in the future that you're not
And
even
you got
tapped in or
another
aware about.
kid telling you we can raise this baby and have a family.
Child, who?
Nigga,
Where's his
where?
parents? Where's his parents?
Yeah.
Where is his parent? And I think also, I think that there needs to be a conversation about that struggle life and that struggle love. I don't want none of that
Mm-hmm.
shit. I don't want my kids to have none of that. I don't want my god kids to have. And I think
Exactly.
that we need to be very clear about like if these are certain things that you're choosing, this is what life looks like. And if you want to struggle, this is what this is. Even Mercedes pointing out those little things, right? The woman over there with
That's
the
gonna be
three
you.
kids, you know what I'm saying? Down to the man
Oh,
who was looking at her and
it was forward in place.
making
She
sure that
had one
she
in tow.
listen. Okay, so all those things you see, Mercedes never stopped being a mom, right? Her instincts, her protective, her all that stuff is very much there for her. You see this man looking at your daughter, keep it moving, R. Kelly. She's 14. I've had that experience with my god kid before. Like she's 16, bro. Chill. Like keep it pushing. But I think that sometimes, again, I don't know what it is about wanting to be, an adult so bad. This shit is not all that it
And
cracks up to be.
everybody wants to be an adult till you become one.
Listen,
Exactly, because I'm
uh,
still trying to get Uncle Sam to stop taking so many damn taxes.
100% do not recommend the ghetto is what I would like to call adulthood.
It's the
So
worst hood I ever lived in.
ever. But yeah, I think that they did a really great job at just
I hated it.
showing the black girl, the black mother dynamic, and it's very
Yes.
necessary for us to have those kind of conversations. And also, one more thing is the conversation when the action when Mercedes hits her and she says, I'm not gonna hit my
Without the
kid.
mom,
I'm not
baby.
gonna
Yeah.
stop my child. And Mercedes saying, yeah, that's what I told myself too. Even in that, just exploring that dynamic and having a moment of transparency or vulnerability with Terica to say, like, you know, yeah, like grandma
We
was
all have
bad to me,
plans.
There's a lot
yeah,
of
that
shit to
too.
with
It's
us.
a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of shit that come with us. Yeah, because I think sometimes we don't realize. Again, our parents are people. Mercedes is abused, right? Because that wasn't that was a whole fucking beat down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that plays in how she now deals with Terica and what her
Yes.
reflexes are, how she reacts. You know what I mean? So things like that really need to be discussed. And I do like, before I wrap up, when they're watching and Pastor Woodbine comes on TV and she says she can't hurt us, right? She only has whatever power we give her,
Yes.
So
What's your final thoughts, Jamal, on this episode of P Valley Jackson? I don't know why I said Jackson that way.
It sounds like a pastor. It my final thoughts was the strength we show in vulnerability is magnificent. It shows I'm pro black, I'm not anti white, but I just love the resilience that they keep capturing that shows us anything we're faced with, we still have the strength to get through, no matter how many ills we take, no matter how hard it may be, no matter how weak we may seem or fearful, we're able to get through it. I loved everything about this. Shut up, Lou.
It's not me. It's not me. It's not me. It is Shima.
Shame about to get blocked. But I'm so tired. But I love the show. I love the dynamic. And I love that they were intentional with displaying their emotions and their feelings throughout the entire episode. Tonight. I think that's the main thing. The reoccurring theme of this episode is intentions.
Any final thoughts, Amaya?
I will say, I'll piggyback off what Jamal said. I think that these last 3 episodes, right? Because we're on 7, so 5, 6, yeah. The last 3 episodes, they've given us vulnerability, transparency, openness, They've given us tears and anger. And I think what that really is showing is, like Jamal said, like, your strength is in showing your emotions. You cannot function without actually going through your emotions. You can go through it, you cannot stay in it. Now, there's a big difference. People are like, oh, get over it. No, 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 no. Go through it because you get to the other side, but you cannot like just not deal with it at all. That's just not how that works. But I think that they do a good job at showing us like effective communication was all up and through these last few episodes, you know, showing your emotion, your feelings, saying what's on your mind, not being even though you're not trying to be hurtful, just stating your truth. And I think that that is something that we probably need to do more often than not in the Black community, for sure. And I'll leave with this. One of my friends told me, she said, don't let your vulnerability be a hindrance. It's your greatest superpower. Because, you know, oftentimes we feel like being sensitive or soft is a bad thing. Not everybody has that trait. It doesn't work for everybody. So let your vulnerability and your transparency and your feelings show, and just be strong in that. So I can't wait to see the next episode, because I mean,
you know, that's your tambourine. That's your tambourine.
This is my Bible. This is my Bible. You know, that's the word. You know the Black church when you better. That's that Bible.
Look, I was about to do that too, because the moment I said, and your final thoughts of mine, that's when you're at the church and you be like, yes, it's over. And then the pastor, and then they run the song back again. You're like, shit.
He thought he ready for you to give benediction.
He said, get out of here. Say amen already. Amen.
All I was waiting for her to say is, will you come? Will you come?
The doors are open.
The doors are open.
Well, this has been another recap review of P-Valley, brought to you by Big Gold Belt. Again, this is episode 7. Jackson, again, check the episode out and tune into us. We will air immediately following the episode. And you'll possibly see Jamal and Amaya in the chat going back and forth for you all. You'll never see me there. That ain't what I do, because some of y'all are reckless in that chat, and I hate to have to slap a bitch on Sunday before I go to Sunday service. So I try to stay out of that chat for my mental health and my well-being.
But we love you.
Check us out.
I'm going to Sunday church with Lou too.
No, I can't go to church with Lucas. That's not, no.
Mm-mm. Is it long? All right, let's get out of here. Bye, guys.
It's long, but not the church. But
I knew he was going to take it. I knew it. Oh, I knew it.
Well,
I knew it.
Peace, people.